Lesson 1, topic Pythagorean theorem converse. Learning target, I can use the converse of the Pythagorean theorem to classify triangles. First off, triangle inequality theorem, which states the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. So we just have to add up all the side lengths and make sure it's greater than the third side length. So if we look here, we've got a couple different examples. So we have the first example here at the top, which has 6, 8, and 16. So if we move this 6, 8, we can't get the 6 and the 8 together to make a triangle because 6 plus 8 is 14, and 14 is not greater than 16. So when we add 6 and 8 together to make 14, 14 is not greater than 16, so we can't make a triangle with that. But if we look over here, we have 9 and 6, which adds to make 15, which is greater than 11, and we can make a triangle with that. So if you notice, all we have to do is test the two smaller sides with the largest side to make sure that that ratio will work. So we don't always have to test all three, we just have to test the two smallest with the largest. So here we have 8, 8, and 4. 8 plus 4 is 12, which is greater than 8. So that's check. And then here we have 4, 8, and 12. And if you see, here we have 4 plus 8 is equal to 12. So since we're equal, 12 is not greater than itself. 12 is not greater than 12. And so if you look there, we can't make a triangle with 4 and 8 with 12 because it's not greater than. It still has to be greater than. So quick check for you. 15, 16, and 31. Can these side lengths make a triangle? Answer yes or no in the Edpuzzle. 5, 13, and 17. Can these side lengths make a triangle? Yes or no in Edpuzzle. The Pythagorean theorem. Review. We know the Pythagorean theorem. It states if we have a right triangle, so we know we have a right triangle, got that right angle, then the legs, the sides touching that right angle, A and B, we square those two and add them together, it will equal your hypotenuse squared, the side across from the right angle. So what we're going to talk about today is the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So the converse of the Pythagorean theorem tells us that if we know c squared equals a squared plus b squared, and in this case c would be the longest side, then we can say that ABC is a right triangle. So it's the opposite of the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem tells us we have to have a right triangle, and then a squared plus b squared will equal c squared. Here, if we don't know what kind of triangle it is, but we know that c squared equals a squared plus b squared, then it will be a right triangle. And then also we have two consequences of this, which is the first one, if c squared is less than a squared plus b squared, and then again c would be that longest side, then ABC is an acute triangle. Remember, acute means no angle is bigger than 90 degrees. And then another consequence of that is if c squared is greater than a squared plus b squared, then ABC is an obtuse triangle, which means it has one angle that is greater than 90 degrees. So let's practice this. Got a little reminder up here in the corner for you, but tell whether the segments can form a triangle. If so, classify the triangle as acute, right, or obtuse. So the first thing we have to check is if it can make a triangle. So we have to add the two smallest sides together. So 10 plus 11 equals 21. And make sure it's bigger than that largest side. 21 is greater than 14. So yes, it can make a triangle. So now we just have to determine if it's a right triangle, an acute triangle, or an obtuse triangle. So to do that, I'm going to take my largest side, 14, square it. I'm going to put a little box here because in that box is going to go my symbol. And then I'm going to do 10 squared plus 11 squared, my two remaining sides. Then I'm going to use a calculator to help me out. So I'll start with doing 14 squared. And we can see that was 196. And then I'll do 10 squared plus 11 squared. And we get 221. So now I just have to fill in the appropriate symbol here, which would be less than. 196 is less than 221, which makes that an acute triangle. So these side lengths, if forming a triangle, would make an acute triangle. One more example here, 8.2, 4.1, and 12.2. So we have 8.2 plus 4.1 would make 12.3. Compare that to the biggest side length. 12.3 is greater than 12.2, which means yes, they can make a triangle. So now that we know it can make a triangle, we're going to determine what kind of triangle it will make. So again, we're going to start with our largest side, so 12.2, and we're going to square it. Make our box, and then add the squares of the other two side lengths, so 8.2 squared plus 4.1 squared. Use our calculator again to evaluate. And we get 148.84 compared to 84.05. And 148 is greater than 84, so we put greater than, and we know then that is an obtuse triangle. Quick check for you, determine if the triangle below is acute, right, or obtuse. Answer an Edpuzzle, and then move on to your practice.